Daily news of the day. Gonna celebrate Mother's Day. Now my father always tries to take my mother to a Mets game. They live down in Jersey. They go over to Queens for that on Mother's Day. Me personally, I do like the Mets. I grew up pretty much Yankees fan, Mets fan. Doesn't really matter, but love Mr. Met. And what's fun is every time they go to a game, they get some kind of handout. And so, like, I have this entire collection of Mets crap. I got like a batting glove. I've got socks. This jersey was like a giveaway. Um, I've got even like a Mother's Day scarf, which I'm going to wear for my mother today for Mother's Day. Now, I haven't posted very much lately. Friday was a difficult day because, we learned just how badly where my place of employment is going to be affected by cuts. And it was kind of a bummer. And I've been hard to be motivated to do things since then. And then like it snowed. like it did. I mean, I love snow, but come on, it's May. So hopefully I'm back on the rise of feeling good. And you know what I think we're going to do today in honor of my mother on Mother's Day? I'm going to talk about my favorite New York Mets. Let's go. All right, it's Celebration Mother's Day, all-time favorite Mets. Start with Ed Kranepool. So one of the 70s, late 70s, early 80s when I would go to some Mets games at Shea Stadium. Of course, Ed Kranepool was the mainstay, the holdover from like the 69 world champions. A lot of guys like Bud Harrelson. But always loved Steady Eddie Kranepool. Then, of course, in the 2000s, Mike Piazza, man, he was great. Made the Mets exciting again. Plus, he's a big metalhead. I know he's friends with Eddie Trunk and has often done interviews where he talks about metal. Felix Millan, again, I just like him because of his card. I love baseball cards that had that action photo. Plus, Millan looked like this was back in the good old days. He was second baseman where, like, everybody, if you played a middle infield, you were, like, skinny and, stereotypically Hispanic, and you had the flip-down sunglasses. He had it all. Probably my favorite Met right now is Jacob deGrom, although I might tip my hat to Noah Syndergaard since deGrom's cut his hair. I love deGrom's hair, plus the guy's a beast. When I would go to Met games in the late 70s and early 80s, every time Craig Swan was the starting pitcher. He must have started 106, it was home games, so 81 games a year. He was the only pitcher they ever saw. Ever. It was it. And he wasn't very good. Bobby Bonilla, he's my favorite Met because of his outlandish contract that it's still being paid today. It's a very Met thing to do. It's to scoop up a free agent, pay him an exorbitant sum, and then still pay him for 30 plus years. Bobby, there's some day in, April where it's Bobby Bonilla Day, where that's the day he gets his $1 million check from the New York Mets. Now, when I was a youngster, Dave Kingman was my favorite Met, King Kong. And I remember seeing him at Shea Stadium, and it seemed like when Dave Kingman came to play, you either got a towering home run or 9 times out of 10, you got a thunderous swing and a strikeout. But I love Dave King Kong Kingman. Now, my all-time favorite baseball player of all time played for the Mets. Rickey Henderson, of course, but I wouldn't say his career was renowned with the Mets, but I had to put on a list because Rickey Henderson played with the Mets, but he also played with like every team in Major League Baseball and minor league baseball, probably. The coolest thing about Rickey Henderson is I first saw him play with the Jersey City Indians of the Eastern League back at Roosevelt Field in Jersey City when he was playing Double-A for the Oakland A's before he made it. So that's pretty cool. Got to have Keith Hernandez on my list. First of all, mustache. Second of all, I was a fan of his when he was a player, but I'm a bigger fan of his as a broadcaster. He does the Mets games now, and he is hysterical. Mostly because he doesn't censor himself very well. And half the time he's sleeping during games, but I really like his commentary. The greatest Met of all time, in my opinion, although those Tom Seaver fans would, but nothing matched when Dwight Gooden, Dr. K, came up with the Mets in the mid to late 80s. There was no pitcher that was more exciting or dominant. I mean, this guy, the only guy who came close was when Pedro Martinez came in. I mean, this guy was insane. And he's probably, in my estimation, the greatest Met of all time. Plus, he's got like a history of like drug abuse and probably domestic violence and stuff too, like all great stars should have. So there you have it. My favorite Mets. Unfortunately, the common theme of all these players is they're Mets. Let's go Mets. And when I was a kid, remember, when you're at a Met game, my favorite advertisement was Schaefer beer. Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. So what say you, moms? Who's your favorite Met? Does anybody actually care about the Mets? Will the Mets ever do anything besides disappoint their fans? Low? The answer is probably no. At least they're not the New York Jets. Inertia TV, Mother's Day edition.